Hi, this is Polly from thefitmumformula.com, and today I'm going to help you figure out whether your overeating is due to hunger, cravings or comfort eating. Because of course if you come to me, it probably is because you want to lose weight, and the reason for that is you are overeating. But why are you overeating? There's various reasons, and knowing which one it is for you will help you to nail down what problems it is that you need to overcome. So first I'm going to start with hunger. Hunger is a physiological need. We have it from birth. It starts in the tummy. Your tummy might be rumbling. You might feel irritable and hangry, as some people describe it. You might have poor concentration. You might feel physically weak and tired. You might have headaches. You might get thirsty. You might have poor concentration. And quite frankly, when you're hungry, any food will do. And if you are hungry, then it probably means you do need to eat. And if you're excessively hungry, then that's another topic entirely, because some foods are going to fill you up better than others, and it's not something that I'm going to be covering in this particular video, although I will link to it in the notes below. Next of all, we've got cravings. Cravings are more about brain chemistry, and it's your brain's messages telling your mouth to start watering and to start thinking about foods that you love. Sometimes it can be due to low blood sugar. So if you have a diet that is too high in sugar, you're going to be getting this roller coaster of blood sugar, and when it's low, you're going to be craving sugar even more than if it was more on an even keel. And so you'll have some sugar, it will shoot up, the problem will sort of be solved, you'll feel better, but then it'll drop down again. Sometimes it's more of a happy reward system chemistry in your brain. So if your happy and reward hormones in your brain, like dopamine and serotonin, are low, one of the ways to fix that is to eat things that boost those chemicals. And they are, as the name suggests, reward chemicals, foods that are highly rewarding. These tend to be things that are high in sugar, especially if you've got blood sugar issues as well. It's going to be sugar that you're craving. But sometimes it can be a starch and sugar and fat combination. So when I say starchy foods, things like rice and pasta and potatoes are starchy foods, and bread. But it's very rare that somebody would crave, for example, plain boiled brown rice. That's not a common craving. So it's not just starch you're craving. It's going to be more likely things like crisps and chips, things that are like a starch and fat and salt combination, and that's highly rewarding as well. And so those sorts of foods will both raise your blood sugar and they'll tap into that brain chemistry and give you that lift that your brain is after. So that's cravings. The third one is emotional eating. Now, emotional eating tends to come on suddenly. If you're hungry, it's probably because you haven't eaten in a while. So that's going to be a gradual thing that comes on. If it's emotional, it could be almost instant. If something happens that means that you suddenly get angry or upset or tired, that feeling of needing food can come very quickly. It doesn't always happen, but it can be. It tends to be very specific foods to you. So rather than just sugar in general, or starch and sugar and fat in general, it can be things that are comforting to you. They could be things you've had maybe in childhood that you're rewarded with, or things that you've had in more recent years that you've used as a comfort food, and now your brain remembers that that particular food makes you feel better in the moment. Sometimes it does tend to still be those things that are high in fat and sugar, so it could be chocolate. Chocolate also does increase dopamine in the brain, that's the happy hormone, but you don't have to use like junky chocolate to do that. You can use pure cocoa, again that's another topic entirely. It can be things like stodgy puddings, it could be rich creamy foods like cheese sauces or actual cheese, and again things like crisps. So these really kind of stodgy, filling, warm belly type foods tend to be the most comforting. If it's comfort eating, then actually eating the food won't necessarily solve the problem. It won't necessarily make you feel any better. It might give you that kind of warm, heavy feeling in your belly, but emotionally you won't feel any better. And in fact, something that's unique to comfort eating is you're much more likely to feel guilt or shame after eating, because you know logically that you didn't actually need food, or not that particular food, so you feel guilty after eating it. If you were genuinely ravenously hungry and hadn't eaten for ages, and then you ate, even if it was something that was like less healthy, you could at least rationalise, well, I really did need some food. Whereas if you didn't need food and you're eating for emotional reasons, that's more likely to make you feel guilt or shame around eating. So that's another signal that maybe it was an emotional eating situation. Often you tend to be more tired and stressed and emotional when you turn to comfort eating. So if you're underslept, if you've got a lot on at work, if the kids are winding you up, if husband isn't being supportive, if there's family dramas going on, and you've just got there's this bucket analogy where it's a picture of a bucket above your head. There's water dripping into the bucket, and so long as water drips out the bottom of the bucket slowly, then that stress, the water dripping in the top, the bucket will you'll still be able to balance it, you'll still be able to manage it. But when the water coming into the bucket, the amount of stress starts getting faster and faster and more, and the drip coming out the bottom can't keep up with it, eventually that bucket's going to be full and it's going to start overflowing. And that's how it works with your stress levels and your emotions. Eventually it gets too much, it becomes too overwhelming, and there's just no mental space left to fight cravings and fight urges to eat emotionally, and so you're going to go and do it. So it does tend to be when you're under situations of high stress. Now, one thing you can do about that is, if you know that you're under a lot of stress, then, and you've got a lot of emotional baggage going on right now, which happens, it's life. If you're aware of that, you can be extra on guard and make sure that you're taking steps to prevent emotional eating and make it less likely. Maybe the rest of the time you can treat yourself to, puddings on the weekend, and you can have biscuits in the house, and you can allow yourself, one chocolate out of the box of chocolates or something. When you're really emotional and you've got no willpower left and you're really tired, that's when that one chocolate out of the selection box is going to turn into half a box of chocolates, because you just don't have the mental strength to be able to resist. So that's one thing you can do, is when you've got all this stress feeling in your life, is to be extra alert and go, right, I know that this is going to happen. I know that there's a possibility that I might turn to food for comfort. So I'm going to take steps now to do what I can to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to fill up on healthy foods. I'm going to try some relaxation techniques. I'm going to try and get an early night and do whatever I can, because I'm aware and alert that this is a possibility. So obviously you want to be minimizing stress overall in your life, but sometimes things happen and there's nothing you can do about them. And what you need to be able to do long term is to be able to react to those stresses in a way that does not involve comfort eating. You need to find other ways of coping with negative emotions that aren't involving food. Okay, you can't get rid of stresses in your life, but that's what you need to be ultimately doing, is finding alternative solutions to these negative emotions that do not involve food. So I hope that's helpful for you. What I think it would be really beneficial for you to do now is to have a think about what it is for you that's making you overeat, because all of them are possible. I'll be honest, the two that I see more commonly are cravings and comfort eating, because hunger is quite easily solved. It's very practical. You just eat food, and when you're in a logical state of mind, you can also make that a healthy food choice. And even if you can't do that, even if you can't get food straight away, most people can cope with hunger for a short amount of time. On the other hand, cravings and comfort eating are much, much more difficult to deal with. They're more complex, and so that's why people struggle with those in particular, and it's why I see those more commonly. But that being said, hunger sometimes is an issue and a reason for overeating, of course. So have a think, which is it for you? Is it hunger that primarily starts in the belly? Is it cravings that primarily start in the brain? Or is it emotional eating that is, as the name suggests, about emotions and resolving emotional discomfort with food? It could be all three of them at different times. It could be just one of them. Be great if you could let me know, either comment below or drop me a line, polly@thefitmumformula.com. And if you don't know how to deal with it, what we can do is, once we know what the problem is and we know which it is for you, then we can then decide the best course of action to overcome that problem. But the first step is determine your particular reasons for overeating. I hope that was helpful for you. This is Polly from thefitmumformula.com.